guys, it's nice to chat again. Last time we chatted, you were about to head down to Australia. I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago. So obviously, a lot has happened since then. Obviously, COVID and all that stuff. First question: how do you have you been dealing with that stuff for the last couple of years?
Um, Geez, I probably enjoyed it way more than I should have.
Okay, in what way?
I, well, I've been on tour since I was 19 years old.
Yeah,
I mean, from Forbidden right into Violence, right into Machine Head. Like I've done album tour, album tour, album tour, 30 plus years now. And forced or not, the pandemic was the first real break I've ever had in my life. Just to have, to have 2.5 years, no record deadline, no tour deadline, like it was actually kind of nice.
yeah.
And, we started doing this thing called Electric Happy Hour over the break. And that ended up being this really awesome live stream. We did basically a free live stream every Friday on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube.
Yeah.
And just, we did full album playthroughs, Supercharger 20th anniversary, full album playthrough, top to bottom, Unto the Locust, through the things that we never would have done. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Catharsis, full album playthrough on the anniversaries. We ended up learning over 340 songs. We did 130 live streams.
Wow.
The shows, and it really just became this awesome way to kind of focus on just music over the pandemic. Like it was still using social media to kind of get out and connect with the fans, but just connecting in a totally different way. Like it wasn't us doing skits to try and get viral like on TikTok. It was still about the music, and that was really, it was awesome. Like we found a way to be productive through it.
At what point during the last 2 years did you start writing and coming up with ideas for this latest album? Then.
Right on the last Catharsis tour, the final tour that we did, that was Jared and I went into a studio about halfway through the tour, and we just demoed some music. And one of those songs would end up being "My Hands Are Empty," but it was just rough ideas at that point. We just like found a guy, programmed some drums, just track guitars and bass. So probably as far as that. But then we did the 25th anniversary of Burn My Eyes, so we just our focus shifted to that for a while. But then once the pandemic hit, it was just like, well, fuck. I guess let's just focus on new music here. And I'm pretty fortunate that I own my own studio, and I've got the ability to just kind of record at any time. So just really utilize that. And we kind of just chipped away. It's funny. I was just talking to Vogue because I just saw Vogue, my guitar player, for the first time this morning.
Oh wow, okay.
Since February 2020, and he was just like, "How did this recording session go?" And I was like, "It's weird because there wasn't really a recording session there. We literally just chipped away at the record once or twice a week over the whole time." And every once in a while we'd get oh my God, I'm totally brain farting on the guy who played drums, Naveen. We'd get Naveen in and do a session with him, but it'd only be like three or 4 days, so it was just constantly working on the record. And so yeah, it was cool, man.
Interesting about this album is, and I've had a preview of it as well. Your publisher sent me a copy the other day, and it's absolutely killer. Like I love this album. But what's really interesting is that it's a concept album, which I guess you guys have never really done before. What inspired you to sort of go down that path?
I had actually dabbled in concept records prior to this. I think a little bit of, I think I might have attempted it on Locust. I think I attempted it on Bloodstone and Diamonds, but I just didn't have it. Sometimes when the record company's got a deadline, you kind of, I just didn't feel like I had enough time to finish it. And I didn't want to put out a shitty concept record.
Yeah.
And so with this, I got to give my wife credit. She kind of put the bug in my ear because over the pandemic, when the pandemic hit, my kids, I got two boys, and they both were either 15 and 13, so they both were teenagers now. And for the
Mm.
first time in 15 years, we didn't have to. I don't know if you got kids or not, but when you got young kids, like your whole freaking life revolves around your kids. Like
Yeah.
You're an Uber driver for your kids, just taking them here and taking them to sports and taking them to this and taking them to school. And like just it's
Yeah.
unrelenting. And we didn't have to do that. They just wanted to kick it in the rooms and watch YouTube and watch, anime or whatever the heck they were watching. And I was like, let's have a date night. Like we can do a Friday and Saturday date night. We can't go out, but like let's just go sit in the garage and get drunk. and so and so we started doing that. We started just going in the garage Fridays and Saturdays after happy hour and just drink and talk and laugh and listen to music. And one of our favorite records forever now has been The Black Parade by My Chemical Romance. And I knew it was a concept record, but I guess I didn't really follow the concept. I'm like she always makes fun of me because I'm the worst with lyrics. Like I'm always saying the wrong lyrics every time I'm singing along to a song. She's like, "You're the
Mm.
singer of a band. Like, how do you get so many fucking lyrics wrong?" So she sat there and kind of broke down the concept of the album. Like we listened to the whole album top to bottom. And keep in mind we're hammered, but she broke it down for me and song by song, kind of verse by verse. And she was like, "You should do a concept record. You should try it." And I was like, "You know what? I will. I'll give it a shot. This is pretty cool." I was like, I kind of got the concept, and I mean, I had been the first concept record I ever heard was probably Sergeant Pepper's by the Beatles. But then
Yeah.
the first one that I really loved was The Wall by Pink Floyd. I mean, like
Sure.
I remember it kind of hit me at a perfect time. I was like teenager, like I was taking tons of acid and I just wanted to like put my headphones on and listen to the fucking bombs dropping and conversations and
Yeah.
phones ringing. I was like, this is crazy. And the Mind Crime by Queensryche, and then probably the most recent one would be Black Parade. But it just seemed like a cool idea. And then and I tried it, and at first my I kind of wrote it like a very American story arc. It was good guy, bad guy, good guy wins. And it was good. Like read well. It felt, but I couldn't connect with it. Like I couldn't relate to it. I just felt like I was reading words.
Mm.
I was just singing words, and I can't really like. For me, I gotta feel a connection with it, and so I think I mentioned this earlier, but like over the pandemic, my kids start watching anime, and they didn't know this because I had never even talked about anime with them. But when I was their age, I was super anime nerd, like obsessed with Akira and Macross and Space Cruiser Yamato. I was going to the conventions. I was really into anime.
Okay.
And prior to that I was a Star Wars nerd. Then I became an anime nerd. Then I became a metal nerd.
Yeah.
And um so I go in there and I'm just hanging out in their rooms with them, just like shooting the shit. And they're watching all this brand new anime that's super brutal. And just, I was like, dude, this is amazing. Like, let's watch this together. I'll totally watch this with you. So we
Mm.
start watching it as a family down on the big screen, on the big TV. And we go through a couple series, and then we stumble on a series called Attack on Titan. And it's a really long series. It's got like 75 episodes per season. And so it takes a while to get through it. And, somewhere around season 3, I'm just so confused because I'm watching it. Who's the good guy? Who's the bad guy? Like, I don't like what is going on. Like, I thought
Yeah.
I knew what was happening. Now I don't know what's happening. and it dawns on me like that's the point of it. It's, they purposely put this kind of storyline where both sides believe that they're doing good,
Mm,
but both sides are committing evil and atrocities. And so I'm I think right then and there I can do that to my story. I can do that to my concept. So once I kind of wrap my head around how I can tell that story, so now, I've written 9 albums through the lens of my eyes, how I view society, experiences that have happened to me. Um, and now I'm writing through a character's eyes that's set in this crime ridden, futuristic wasteland where the sky is always stained crimson red. And I'm now I'm writing through this other character, but now I'm writing through the polar opposite character's eyes.
mm,
Character number one is Ares. He loses the love of his life, Amethyst, goes on a murderous rampage to avenge her. Character number two, Eros, loses his mother to a drug overdose, becomes radicalized by this charismatic leader in his downward spiral, goes on his own murderous rampage, and is one of the people who kills Amethyst, and how their lyrics are intertwining. I mean, sorry, how
mm.
the lyrics detail how their lives intertwine.
Yeah,
I mean, just from a creative standpoint, from a just as an artist, it was just so awesome to write from this place and try and make it so that you care about the characters and that you empathize with them, even though they're both totally fucked up.
yeah.
And it was really, once that fell into place, it was really just awesome, and I really got off on it, man.
So with the music then, were you writing the music around the story, or were you sort of basing the riffs around sort of ideas that you already had and then kind of just inserted them in right places and stuff?
It's always the riff first for
Mm,
me. It's pretty rare that I write lyrics prior to having music. It happens like it happened with Darkness Within. I think it happened with Fuck It All, but not 99 times out of 100, it's the riff first.
yeah.
Because I kind of, sometimes it sounds weird to say this, but like the riff kind of talks to me. Like the riff kind of tells me where to go. Yeah, and and even if I write lyrics, I try and force lyrics on a riff. Sometimes it just doesn't work. You gotta
Mm,
like let the riff take you where it takes you.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting because I kind of feel like obviously you mentioned a lot of bands who've done concept albums before. It seems like it's a difficult thing to play around with. I mean, did you find it was difficult at all to sort of like fit it all together?
Parts of it were. I mean, at times it was. Like I said, the biggest challenge was feeling a connection.
Mm,
I mean, that was the biggest thing. And what what I think really changed it for me from just kind of telling a story or singing a story was when I got to the verses in Slaughter, and Slaughter is just, it had to Slaughter, the two main, because Slaughter struck on these very primal emotions, that when I finished that song, like I kind of knew that the pieces of the puzzle would fit together because it struck on these very Neanderthal emotions,
mm,
murder, which everybody can relate to, and love. That bridge verse, heartbreak, the cross I bear, endless sorrow fills the blackened air. These pyres where love has died, a fire smothered emptiness inside. When I got to that part, I knew what the record was. When I wrote that, I was just, oh, this is about love. And this is about the loss of love. And that's why I think, I've never written about love.
mm.
And my whole it's like metal, like right, but
Yeah.
it just added this depth and this, you know it's like the crazy things that people do for love.
Yeah, and especially in a world that we're living in today as well, I think we need more of that sort of positive sort of energy, I guess, and that's something that we definitely need in a world that's very polarizing and can be very negative at the same time.
Yeah.
So taking on the touring side of things, what can we expect as far as like set lists and things like that? Like how many songs do you think you could pull off of this album? Do you think it'll be difficult at all? What's the sort of idea behind the live aspect of these songs?
Uh, I'm not sure. I mean, we're gonna do a co-headline tour with Amon Amarth starting in about 2 weeks. So we're both playing, I think, 60 to 70 minutes a night. So I don't feel like we're going to really hammer people with a whole new album. I don't think, most people first tour back after the pandemic, it's like people want to hear, Halo and Davidian and Locust and
Yeah.
hits. And so I think we'll give them a taste of the new album, but I think it's still going to be a lot of Machine Head classics.
Yeah, cool. I mean, obviously, you're talking about numerous albums over the years. I mean, that must be getting more and more difficult to come up with set lists as well.
Yeah, I mean, we just did a secret show at Bloodstock, and we had an hour, and it was amazing. I mean, it was absolute bonkers insanity. I mean, we played the 6,000 capacity tent. It was a secret show, unannounced. They just raised the banner right before we went up. 10,000 people crammed into the 6,000 capacity tent. It was bedlam. But we played 10 songs and we went over. So I was like, yeah, that's about what we can do about 10 songs. And God forbid we throw in a Slaughter the Martyr or a Clenching the Fist of Dissent, because that's a half hour set right there. so
Yeah.
so we got 10-minute long songs. So I think that's probably what we're doing. And we got 10 albums now. So it's like I still don't know what to do, because do we do one song off of every album?
Mm.
Do we do, I mean, gotta do probably at least two off the Blackening. I don't know how to do it.
It's strange, like to sort of like please yourself, please the fans, and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the balancing act must be just mind-blowingly difficult.
I mean, my hope is that once we get into a routine with the kind of the show, and we got a lot of pyro, we've got huge production, we got video walls, and I mean it's the biggest production we've ever had in our 30-year career, and it
Mm,
looks amazing. So we do have pyro cues, and we got to stick with that because we already spent the money on the pyro. So there will be set songs that will never change.
sure.
But my hope is that we're going to have uh, maybe two wild card slots where we can rotate in an old song from the catalog and maybe a new song. I'd love to have a section where we do a cover. I'd love to do a collab with them on a Marth. I know they covered Aerials by System of a Down, and
Mm,
Jared and I have covered Aerials, and it'd be cool to do like the two bands playing Aerials.
sure, yeah.
So get Johan up there and Ollie or whatever, whoever, and do a jam about it. To me, that would be super fun, and I think very cool for the fans.
Yeah, absolutely. So is there any talk then of you guys coming down to Australia?
We're shooting for February. That's what we're really hoping for. And I don't know
Okay.
if we're talking to the promoters and go, hey, is this a good time? I know people are kind of just coming back from summer vacation right around then, but
Yeah.
we'd love to get down. We got a good open spot right there because we're doing U.S. states in March.
Yeah.
So
I would love to have you back. It's
can't
always
wait,
a good time.
can't wait to get back. Can't wait to get back to Australia, man. Love Australia. Maniacs.
I think the last time we talked, we actually touched on it. It was in 2010, and you were in Perth, Australia, on the west coast of the country. And there was this show where they had this crazy weather with all these hailstones and all this kind of stuff. And people still talk about it to this day. And I always remember it. And you guys just came on, a little bit late, but it was such a wild night, and I'll never forget about it. It was like 12 years ago.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. That was it was crazy. What time of year was that? Do you remember?
Oh God, I can't remember. It wasn't the summertime or winter time. It was like autumn or spring, I think. It was like a weird sort
Okay.
of,
It
yeah.
was just some crazy autumn
Yeah.
hailstorm, huh?
Oh, I don't know what it was, but it was one of the wildest things I've ever seen for sure.
I do love Perth. I don't know why, but I always end up something happens. Like the last time we were in Perth, I get these sometimes I get these ear infections and I can't fly because my ear will I mean, they'll literally kick me off the plane. Like, you're sir, your ears are going to explode if you fly, so you have to get off the plane.
Mm.
And so this has happened to me a few times in Perth. So I ended up just staying in Perth for like 5 days, and I fucking love it there, man. Like, it's so. I mean, I love it all over Australia, but it's just such a trip to be on. I don't know. For me, I feel like I'm on the other side of the world or something.
Yeah,
It's a
which
cool
I think
vibe
you
out there.
literally are.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for your time, man. I really appreciate it. And as I said, the preview that I've had for the new album is absolutely killer. I kind of feel like this is almost like on par with like the Blackening. It's a really, really good album, and love the concept as well. And I don't know if you'll ever do it again, but I think it's a really a cool idea to really do. I think.
Oh, thank you, man. Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate you saying that. We're stoked. I mean, we just got a 10 out of 10 review in Blabbermouth, called it the best album we've ever made. So we're just like, holy shit.
Wow.
Like, it's amazing. Yeah.
There you go. Well, congratulations, and as I said, thanks for your time, man. Really appreciate it.
All right, brother. Have a good one.
Cool. You too.